If you're making any of these 5 overtaking mistakes, you're not reaching your potential as a driver. I'm a professional sim racing coach and top 1% rated driver, and these are the most common overtaking mistakes I see when I'm coaching students. Number 1, going for desperate moves. The pressure to make progress during a race is huge, and if you're not going forwards, you're usually going backwards. But that doesn't mean you should go for every half chance of an overtake. I see so many drivers that are convinced that whenever the driver in front of them makes a mistake, or whenever they feel like they have the slightest speed advantage over their opponent, they feel like they have to go for an overtake right away. But the risk in these kind of situations is that you try to force a move that is never quite on, resulting in, at best, a failed overtake, and at worst, contact between the two cars. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't use our overspeed to our advantage. So what should we do? When you have half a chance, the goal is to pressure your opponent and try to set up an overtake into the next corner. By putting your car in dangerous positions, you force your opponent to make a decision. Either leave space or risk contact. The key here is that you know you're not really going to go for an overtake, but your opponent doesn't know that. And you should always be ready to back out of these half moves if the driver in front does turn into the corner. But when you can successfully compromise your opponent's line into the corner, you hurt their exit speed. This gives you a much better chance of making a successful overtake into the next corner. This can even lead to some amazing multi-lap battles, but if you keep pressuring your opponent enough, eventually they will crack and you'll make the overtake. And crucially, you'll make that pass without anywhere near as much risk as if you tried to commit to one of these half moves. But the reason drivers go for these desperate moves instead of setting up overtakes in advance is often because they don't actually know what it looks like when they're alongside another car. In sim racing especially, it's very hard to judge closing distances. And so often I see crashes on track where a driver truly believes they were entitled to space, only to watch the replay back and realise they were nowhere near alongside enough to be entitled to room through the corner. Especially if you're driving on a single monitor. From the cockpit, it always looks like you're more alongside than you are. But when you watch from an off-board perspective, things look radically different. So you need to take some time to familiarise yourself with how it will actually look when you're properly alongside from the cockpit cam. Once you know where your car is, and you avoid going for desperate moves, you'll want to make sure you commit to the overtake. Uncertainty in overtaking is another huge cause of crashes. If you aren't confident of making a move, the risk of a crash goes up exponentially. On entry, overtaking is a battle of who can get their nose ahead by the apex. Because whoever has their nose ahead at the apex is able to more easily dictate the line of the corner for both cars on the exit. If you don't commit to getting your nose ahead by the apex, you run the risk of leaving yourself in the vortex of danger, which, surprisingly enough, is a dangerous place to be. It can actually be safer to overcommit to a move than undercommit. For example, if you overcommit to a move up the inside, you'll have overshot the apex before your opponent even has a chance to turn in. Sure, they'll get you back on the switchback, but both cars will still be in the race. And the final overtaking mistake I see actually has the largest impact on people's races. But if you want to make progress faster, you can get a free 7-day trial of my online course, iRacing Fundamentals, via the link in the description. The course covers everything I wish I knew when I started iRacing 2 years ago, and it will comfortably see you through to an iRating of over 2000, which already would put you in the top 25% of iRacers. Number 5. Not thinking about total race time. The final mistake I see is drivers not thinking about the bigger picture when they're racing. They try to win each individual battle on track without thinking about minimising their total race time. Every time you go side by side with another car, both drivers lose time. So there are situations where when a faster driver is coming up behind you quickly, then the smartest thing to do is not to fight too hard. Minimise the time you lose and prevent other drivers behind you from catching up to both of you. If you have any other overtaking tips, leave them in the comments for other drivers to learn from, and I'll see you in the next one.